Choosing the right prenatal is important, and it can feel really intimidating. After all, you're not taking this supplement just to support your health, but to support the health of the baby growing in your body. I'm Dr. Jolene Brighton, and in this video, I want to share with you information on what to look for in a prenatal and help you navigate this sometimes confusing decision. I'm a mama myself, so I get how stressful it can be when you're met with a shelf full of prenatals and you have no clue what to look for and if their ingredients in there are going to be harmful. So let's talk about some of the key things that you should look for in your prenatal. Number one that I tell my patients is to look for folate and not folic acid. So a methylfolate, a nature folate, or something natural, which folic acid is not. In about 40% of the population, there is a gene called MTHFR that really can't handle folic acid. This synthetic vitamin is put in a lot of multivitamins and prenatals because it's less expensive. But here's the thing. If you're taking folic acid and you can't utilize it, then you and your baby aren't getting ample amounts of folate that they need to protect against things like spina bifida and other neural tube defects. So I encourage women to look for natural versions of folate and to avoid folic acid for this reason. Now, the other thing we want to look for is making sure that there's a healthy ratio of selenium and iodine. These are both minerals that are absolutely essential for fertility, women's health, and a developing baby. Now, here's the thing. We understand that if there's an iodine deficiency, that baby can actually have developmental delays later in life. That's really important to know and to make sure that you have adequate iodine. The trouble is that if you're taking iodine alone, you can make it yourself susceptible to the activation of an autoimmune condition known as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now, this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. You see, I have Hashimoto's, and because my thyroid was mismanaged and I wasn't educated on the fact that iodine without selenium could make things worse, I ended up having a miscarriage when I was 11 weeks pregnant. After that moment, my life was forever changed. And it really inspired me to put together a comprehensive prenatal that would help support women and their babies and ensure that their thyroid is cared for throughout pregnancy. You see, your pregnancy is a stress test for your thyroid. In fact, some women see increases as much as 50% on the demand of thyroid hormone that has to be produced once they become pregnant. And iodine is absolutely essential for this. But what we know is that iodine, when there is not adequate selenium, can cause some trouble for mama's body, which ultimately can cause trouble for baby as well. This is why I encourage women to look for selenium and iodine in a prenatal. Typically, we'll see anywhere from 150 to 300 micrograms of iodine being recommended. Please also make sure that there is at least 200 micrograms of selenium in there as well to optimize the ratio of selenium and iodine and give your thyroid and your body what it needs. Now, we also want to look at the vitamin A that's in our prenatals. So here's the thing. There are many forms of vitamin A, and beta carotene is regarded as being the safest form of vitamin A during pregnancy. That's because what is called preformed vitamin A, like retinol palmitate, is known as a teratogen. That means it can cause defects in baby when it gets to higher amounts. Now, sometimes you'll see a prenatal that has a mix and they're keeping the retinol palmitate low. But knowing this, I wanted to make sure that we put the safest form of vitamin A in my Prenatal Plus, which is why you'll find beta carotene. Now, we've talked about folate, but anytime we have folate, we also need to have B12. Cyanocobalamin is one form of B12 that you will find in vitamins. However, this is much like folic acid. It's a synthetic and cheaper form. So instead, we want to opt for forms like methylcobalamin, which is already activated B12 that your body can go ahead and utilize. Now, you should have other minerals in your prenatal as well, including iron, calcium, and we definitely want to see magnesium in there. Now, there are some things that you want to make sure your prenatal does not have in it. Number one is your prenatal should not have hydrogenated fats. These fats are known to be inflammatory and cause health issues. There's literally no reason for you to have hydrogenated fats in a prenatal. And in addition, they shouldn't have food dye in them. You see, some of these food dyes are actually known neurotoxins, and we don't want to be taking neurotoxins in. They may exist in our environment and our food supply, but supplementing with them is never a good idea. So the question I often get outside of, okay, what should I look for in a prenatal is when should I start a prenatal and for how long? Now, generally speaking, we need to be on a prenatal when we start thinking about having a baby and for as long as we breastfeed. You see, when you breastfeed, you actually require more nutrients than when you were pregnant. Pretty crazy, right? And now here's the thing about when to start a prenatal is that you'll hear a lot of people say, okay, well, if you are going to try this month, go ahead and start your prenatal. The trouble is that the egg you ovulate with, that is the egg you become pregnant with, has gone through a 90-day maturation process. That's 3 months. So if you start taking a prenatal 2 weeks before you conceive, that prenatal really hasn't been available to support the maturation process of that egg. We always want to have the healthiest egg and the healthiest body. Because after all, mama is the seed and the soil when it comes to baby making. So when do I tell my patients they should start a prenatal? The minimum is 6 months prior to conception, with really a year to 2 years being the ideal. That's when we want to be focusing in on eating nutrient dense foods, building our optimal nutrient stores. We also want to look at how can we balance our hormones and what about our gut health? Are there infections we need to clear or ways that we can really improve our gut health? You see, your microbiome, those good gut bugs, become baby's microbiome. So this is a really important part of the conversation. Now, I want to acknowledge in this video, we're talking about prenatals and we're talking about mama's body. But don't forget that 50% of the equation is a sperm. So with that in mind, make sure that if you're approaching preconception care and thinking about having a baby, that your partner is also thinking about the ways they can eat, move, and supplements that can help them as well. I hope this video has been helpful in helping you understand what to look for in a prenatal, what not to take in a prenatal, and when you should start it and how long you should consider it. Now, with any supplement, it's always a good idea to check in with your doctor. So if you are thinking about becoming pregnant or you are already pregnant, it's a good idea to have a conversation with your doctor about the supplements that you're utilizing to ensure that they best meet your needs.